What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and well, as y'all know, I am going over most of the old DLCs in the Crew 2 to actually see if they are worth having in Motorfest. And well, so far, guys, I have went over the Hunt and the Chase, so I would like to know your thoughts so far in the comments below. But in this video, though, I will be going over the agency update that was Season 2, Episode 1. So, jumping right into this one, guys, I'm sure the first thing you're going to notice is every single event is obviously going to be based on those weird point events that were in the game as well. I do know when a lot of these events do show up in summits, a lot of players are not the biggest fan of them, which I really can't blame you because many of these races can honestly be kind of frustrating, and you normally do have to tweak your car a bit too much to actually get them to be good enough to really compete in many of these events because you do normally have to drift, which I would say is probably going to be like the best way to actually get points in these races though. And if you were to go after like the boxes and or just like jump and grab like the billboards, you can most likely get a lot of the normal hard and or ace scores on many of these events. But to be honest, guys, if these were going to be in a summit though, you're most likely going to have to get a lot more points. And I really do feel like a lot of players most likely don't want to mess with these, but in this update though, guys, it was going to be street race, MX, touring car, and or rallycross vehicles. That was basically going to be the entire thing, but the main thing though is most of these events basically had the exact same objective. You had to get a lot of points and or get to the end of this event within that time limit, so at least depending on the vehicle you were to use, I would say it wasn't going to be insanely difficult. To be honest, I would say the motocross events are most likely going to be the easiest ones, and the main reason for that is all you really had to do was basically wheelie. By wheeling, you get an insane multiplier the entire time, so it really did make this insanely easy. I would say you could easily get a high score in a summit without barely hitting any of the boxes and or jumping, so unlike a lot of the big straightaway areas, all you really had to do was wheelie, and you normally could get a pretty high score. But to get a decent score on a summit though, you normally had to go way above what the actual score was, which if you guys were wondering, on most of the summits it was always on normal. That way if you did get a bit of a higher score, at least gave you some bit of points. But if you were to use something like a streetcar though, the other thing you had to do was drift. Now, one of the big issues with this was due to the fact that many of the streetcars in the Crew 2 are obviously made to grip and or you normally do want a grip build. Most players are probably not going to be having a streetcar drifting mainly because, well, we actually have a legit drift category for that, so a lot of players are most likely not looking to have their streetcar actually drifting. But for this, guys, I would normally raise down my front and or rear grip for the tires. I would probably say that's going to be the easiest way to get these cars to actually slide, because you can find certain areas in this race where you really could just go around in a circle and probably get like 20 to 30,000 points pretty easily. So again, guys, when these are in summits though, I did notice a lot of players do tend to get a lot of insanely high scores. That could be from exploits and or doing this with certain people and or more players. I would probably say a solo player can only get so many points on this. Now, one thing I've always found kind of funny about this though is every time one of these events actually show up in a summit, I really do feel like no one is actually happy to see these events though, and that's most likely going to be me included, guys, because I do find a lot of them not to be that fun, and I really don't think a touring car one is ever going to show up, and hopefully it's not actually going to after making this video. That would be insanely unfortunate. I really do think a touring car on one of these is going to be kind of annoying, at least to get a super high score, especially solo if you're not running this with other people. But the motocross class is by far going to be the easiest ones to do, probably followed by the street category, and then that would be followed by the rallycross category and or the touring car class after that. So it really is going to come down to each class being a bit different in their own ways. With rallycross and street vehicles though, all you really have to do is drift around, and that way you're probably going to get a pretty high score. But I would probably say when it comes to overall popularity, most players probably do not want to see this DLC, and if they do see something like this in Motorfest, they're most likely going to want to see it a bit different. But then again, I also feel like a lot of players are most likely going to want to see different types of events and or different types of DLCs besides like these stunt ones. I really do feel like a lot of players most likely were not the biggest fans of these, and if I had to guess, I would say a lot of people would most likely rather see like the hunt and or something like one of the older DLCs like the chase as well, over something like the agency actually being added once again. But it really is insane, guys, how old these old seasons actually are. Season 2 episode 1 came out a very long time ago, so I really do think a lot of them are most likely not going to be making these exact same ones again, and if they do, they most likely will end up changing the overall design of this. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see, guys. But I really do think a lot of these old DLCs are most likely not going to be in Motorfest, and I do feel like a lot of players are most likely not going to want to see many of these actually show up in Motorfest. But I really do think time is going to tell on this because Motorfest is approaching fast here. It really is insane how fast time is going, but I will definitely be going over the rest of these DLCs to really see how they are, and to actually see if they should show up in Motorfest once again as like a new DLC. But I have a feeling if they do actually show up, they're most likely going to be designed a bit differently. I would like to know what you guys think about the agency DLC in the comments below. Would you guys actually like to see something like this in Motorfest again? And if you do, what are some changes you would probably like to see to this specific update? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more insight.